The photo says it's of Hélène. It has the logo for the Moulin Rouge. She was a dancer at the venue. End of information. This is Serpolette, which means wild thyme. I believe that she was also known as the Great Nana la Serpolette. Serpolette, probably so named because she feeds the rabbits that are placed in her care. So she's nicknamed Wild Thyme, which rabbits do enjoy very much. But my interpretation of what rabbits alludes to is loose women, sex workers, as brothels were sometimes called Le Clapier, the rabbit farm. Why? Well, what do rabbits do? Unless they are neutered. Yeah, that. Serpolette likely shared an apartment with some women who did sex work, and I interpret it from the text that she fed them with herself, that some of them were her lovers. I could be wrong. Perhaps she used her Moulin Rouge salary to make soup for them. Or she had an actual rabbit farm. I mean, La Goulue did have a little allotment garden. Nah, it probably has to do with sex. In 1899, La Goulue opens her own menagerie, a caravan show with wild animals. She hosts a celebration in the caravan with the Great Nana Serpolette, La Môme la Crotte and Cri-Cri, 250 francs worth of champagne and liqueur. We had a super supper. But the peace didn't last long. The Great Nana put her leg on the table, crossed the table on one leg. She was very big. They did a quadrille and the party got complaints because the musicians played until 2 in the morning. Paid every 2 weeks, they are required to sign an attendance sheet upon arrival. In case of absence, their day's pay is deducted. The stars earn 250, 300, 400 and 500 francs. That's what La Goulue, La Macarona, Serpolette, Sauterelle, Claire de Lune, La Tonkinoise and La Glue earn. So yeah, here's an article describing the salaries of some of the top tier dancers. And no sick leave money for these ladies. So a seamstress earned 2 francs per day in 1890. A housemaid earned 1.5, like 50 francs per day. The dancers earned a good amount of money. La Torpille, the torpedo. She's one of the women who had a dancing career prior to the opening of the Moulin Rouge. And she's mentioned as a student of Nini and Miss Rigolette. This mentions her as a celebrity who did the grand écart, the splits. And here she is photographed performing it. Môme Fromage is actually one of the can-can ladies who will get her own presentation because there is enough info about her. But I wanted to include her here to show that I've been struggling to identify her, because she and some of the other dancers look very similar. And in some books and articles, photos of Serpolette, La Torpille and unknown women are labeled as being of Môme Fromage. It sure isn't easy to identify them. So these 2 photos are said to be of Marie-Anne Weber, one of the sisters of the famous dancer La Goulue. But I'm not sure. Marie-Anne died in 1883. This lady is nicknamed Étoile d'Or, Golden Star. She looks very young, and I have no info on her. I wonder about that hat. I usually gush over how pretty the clothes are, but this one looks like a bread basket. Here we have Étoile d'Or with Coquelicot, which means a shade of red or a poppy flower. I have no more info on them. This is Mimi Jambe en l'air. Mimi, which means cute, and leg in the air. She only appears in this photograph, and I haven't found her mentioned anywhere else. Cascade. I've seen her mislabeled as La Goulue. She's mentioned as a student of Miss Rigolette. That's pretty much it. Pluie d'or and Tapageuse. Golden Rain and Noisy. Perhaps they were a duo. The nickname Noisy probably alludes to the fact that the Shahoot/Can-Can dancing was rather noisy, with dancers shrieking and screaming while performing. I believe this is them, Pluie d'or and Tapageuse, with two unknown men who wears what looks like matador outfits. The photo is labeled as Scène excentrique du Moulin Rouge. Eccentric scene from the Moulin Rouge. I suspect that this is them as well. Pluie d'or and Tapageuse. Folle Jambe. Crazy leg. The nickname alludes to the fact that the dance was seen as quite unhinged and crazy looking. There's no info on her. Turquoise. Turquoise, like the color. No info on her. Boute-en-Train. The life of the party, the energetic one. No info on her. Aside from student of Miss Rigolette. Berlurette. Like, this is the only two traces of her. This one photo and this ad where she is headlining, like, service where you can send in to get photos of the Moulin Rouge performers. It sure makes you wonder what happened to her. Like, why is she so forgotten? She has a very lovely presence in this photo, I think. And the nickname, it alludes to a game similar to tag, blind man's bluff, or blindebook in Scandinavian languages. It alludes to playfulness, like both to come and play with her, and that there's some like mischievousness in the game. Kind of like you cover your eyes, and maybe she's still there when you take her hands off from your eyes, or maybe she's gone, or some such. Fin-de-Siècle, a newcomer and one of the prettiest troublemakers of the Moulin. A very pretty young girl with a charming face as fresh as a rosebud. She dances as much for fun as to fulfill the obligations of her commitment. She will move from the lower classes to the demi-monde if she is lucky enough to be seriously taken under the wing of a specialist who believes in her talent. Yeah, Maurice, I agree. She's very pretty. In this photo, she reminds me of some French actress, actually. She doesn't look very happy, though, and the pose is rather not sensual. And she looks super young. Her nickname literally means end of the century, but fin du siècle was also a kind of mood, like the concept Y2K, an end of an era that holds promises and fears. This photo. I love, love, love the details on her bodies. And I see a little star as well as some other ornaments. And there's some really pretty bows on the side of her knees with those beautifully adorned stockings. But yeah, the text. The wings of a specialist. That means that, it's a protector. A man who will pay her expenses and promote her in return for, sex and company. The only other info I have on her is her friendship with fellow dancer Berlurette.